Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy. Prop up on Thrive Fantasy this season. And now, here are your hosts, Mark Malusis and Keith Irizarry.
Chubb, the running back. Bryant motions right to left. Brissett, play action fake. He drifts back. He's up in the pocket. He rolls left to the pylon. Dives. Touchdown! Jacoby Brissett. He took the long way home. And the Browns jump out to a 17-0 lead.
Hi, Moose.
What's going on, Keith? Welcome back, buddy.
Hi.
Welcome.
That was Jim Donovan, ESPN Radio Cleveland. He is Moose. I am Keith. It is Moose and Keith. It's Bettor Sports Network.
How you doing, brother?
Good. I caught a little bit of the show yesterday. It was good. You know it is so weird. And you tell me about this, and you've had co-hosts throughout your career. It is a very odd thing to watch or listen to the show that you are normally on when someone is filling in for you. It just even if the person is fantastic, honestly, it's like, this is going to sound cheesy. It's like watching your wife go out on a date with someone else and you're like, no, that's not the way it's supposed to look. No. Yeah, I didn't like it. He did a great job, but I didn't like it. Nope, didn't like it.
It was good. So I was cheating on you is what you were saying.
It felt like emotionally cheating. You guys were in different rooms, so you didn't actually cross any lines.
Right.
Technically, I can't be mad at you, right? Yes. I could just be a little bit hurt. That's kind of how.
I missed you, Keith. I missed you.
Yeah, I missed you too. Did a little Halloween stuff in the morning.
I know. What'd you do with your day off?
So it was a lot of Halloween stuff in the morning with the kids, and then it was funny. I'm done by 11, and I was thinking, I'm like, wonder if I should just press the call button and come into the show and just annoy you guys. But I figured, let you have your hall pass. Woohoo! Moose gets his hall pass. And then we're back today. Here we are.
Yes, here we are. Well, I'm glad. Well, listen, we missed you. I'm glad you enjoyed your Halloween. Did the kids load up on candy?
Not as much as I thought they would. I'll tell you, I did. I ate a lot of candy yesterday. We talk a lot about healthiness and blah, 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 blah.
But clean life.
Oh, man, yesterday was fun just to kind of be. And then baseball gets canceled last night. So I'm sitting here waiting at the studio, trying to wait it out. And finally it's canceled. Jody and the boys are over at another family's house with a couple of families. I hop in the car. I drive down there. And all they did was feed. I had 2-3 slices of pizza last night. I woke up this morning. I didn't feel great. I'm not going to lie. Did not feel good.
What kind of, did you go cheese or did you go toppings?
So it was the one, they had this upside down Brooklyn style pizza.
What is that? That sounds
so
great.
It's the cheese underneath and then it's the sauce on top and it's got pecorino.
That's like Chicago style.
Yeah. I guess they call it
or Detroit style.
Yeah, they call it upside down Brooklyn style is what this place calls it. So my buddy, he's like, oh, you got to try it. It's the best. It was good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
It's hard to really mess up pizza. It really is. Pizza's really good. I know it's not the best thing for you. We had pizza as well at a cheese slice and a Sicilian corner, which I love.
You're a corner man? You like the corner?
Yes, the corner slice. Yeah.
All right.
I love the corner. The corner slice is the best because the crust is great. It's nice and crunchy and crispy. It's fantastic. So had some pizza. We went 2 rounds of trick-or-treating with the boys last night. So we did one side. We went to my sister-in-law's, Laura's, up in Westchester, and we did one street, walk to this street that they knew people on. It was a nice, quaint neighborhood, and it did that back and forth, came inside, took a little bit of a break, and then went back out and did all around her neighborhood. The kids had we've got 8 pounds of candy.
The costumes are great. The boys look great. You and Donna looked awesome. Yeah, it was cool.
Thank you. Jackson was the devil. Paul was a ninja, and Gregory was Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
But he dresses up like Saquon Barkley every day. He's worn that Giants jersey. I'd probably say 60% of the time that he's not in school.
Now, when he dresses up as Saquon, though, like, you should have had him doing box jumps and like deadlifts and stuff like that. He should be like rolling his legs up and like it should say Quadzilla, things like that.
Well, he does. Yeah. I mean, I know Saquon doesn't do the gritty, but he does the gritty. He does everything. Like he's crazy. Like Gregory's absolutely crazy. He had the giant gloves. He had like everything, and he was all tricked out. So he looked great. Everyone looked great. We had a great time. It was fun. I mean, last year Halloween fell on an NFL Sunday, so I'd work like all day, so I really couldn't enjoy the time with them. And then yesterday was awesome. Did the show from noon, and then the kids were in school. Donna and I picked them up at school. We headed right off to my sister-in-law's, and we're there till like 8:15, 8:30 last night. Drove home and put the kids to bed, and away you go.
Absolutely love it. Yeah, it's a good time. I think it's it goes so far until the kids don't care anymore. Like even Austin at 11 years old and in 6th grade, like, I mean, I wasn't part of the trick-or-treating anyway, but he went with his 6th grade buddies, all in the same neighborhood that Jody and the younger kids were in. It was all the same neighborhood, but he was by himself. It was like him and 7 buddies, and they did their old trick-or-treating and, running around and stuff like that. And
I don't want to get to that point yet.
Yeah.
I don't. No, I don't want to get to that point where they go by their own. I know it's going to come. I understand it's inevitable time, whatever. Dad's no longer cool, but mom's no longer cool. They no longer want to hang out with you. I just don't want to get to that point yet.
If it means anything to you, shh. I think you and I are going to stay cooler than Donna and Jody in our boys' eyes for a little bit longer. They might be mama's boys and they might love their mom and maybe want to cuddle with them when they're at home. But for what you and I do for a living, their friends think we're cool. Yeah. So I and especially as they get older, like Austin's friends think I'm cool.
That's like, great.
So I think Moose, I think we're okay. Like I think the boys are gonna think we're cool for longer than they think their moms are cool. They'll still love their moms and like I said, probably cuddle at home and like if they have a boo-boo or something, or like I guess as 11-year-old I shouldn't call it that. They have a cut on their leg, like they want their mom taking care of it. But if they want someone to take them, for a drive or something like that, it's usually dad.
That's true. That's a good point. I don't listen. I love Halloween. It's great, and Thanksgiving's going to be right around the corner now, and then we get into the holiday season. I mean, it's just ridiculous pace now that we're going to go through to click off the rest of the year. So craziness. I mean, it really is, and we're already up to week 9 of the National Football League.
Before we get into the full breakdown, want to, as we always do, we like to, if I have something cool on, we show the t-shirt. Check this out.
Love it.
Little Thrive Fantasy. Apparently they lost your address because they got mine. I got a swag bag sent to me.
What I don't understand. You're like, well, Deutsch got, and listen, I still have my AOL address.
That's your problem, dude. I mean,
no, it's really not a problem. I still get email, but the issue I have is like, yo, did you get your swag bag? I'm like, no, I didn't get anything yet. And Keith's like, oh, I got mine. He goes, Deutsch sent us an email asking for our addresses. I go, I've emailed Deutsch like 8 times my address. Like, how many times do I need to email Deutsch my address? Like,
I think you should do it every day. Once a day, just in case. Look, this is like a pen.
I know you can do it all. It's got a light.
You can cut somebody, cut things.
Hopefully not cut somebody. You can open up a box.
Open up a bottle. It hangs from things. It's got a light. It's great. It's great.
Nice.
What else? There was a banner in here, and then there was something else. What else was in here? That was it. Oh, and a shot glass. Yeah.
Beautiful. There you go. When did that show up at your place?
About a year ago. No, it was. I think it was Saturday.
Oh, it showed up Saturday. Yeah,
I think it came on Saturday.
Yeah.
So right away, I knew I'm gonna be rocking my new Thrive.
You look great. You look amazing.
Thank you. So we thank you, Thrive Fantasy, for sponsoring the show. Yes. I'm sure Moose will get a swag bag at some point.
Well, I just emailed Deutsch my address again. So,
well, but from the AOL? Because like when you do AOL, do you hear like
no, I don't have the spinning wheel or the hourglass that's just going around and around in circles. Right. You crank up the hamster wheel that's on the back of my computer. And you're like, all right, time to go. And the hamsters start rolling around.
What do we think? What do we think
No.
Moose's AIM handle was? Money Mark.
No. No,
No, it wasn't like Money Mark or something.
No, Simple Man, M. Malusis. That's it.
Oh,
That's all.
well, know what mine was?
What was yours?
Izzy for life.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
It was brutal.
That's brutal.
Izzy was my nickname in basketball. That was what I was called during basketball. Yep. Being half Puerto Rican, I love the Latino for life thing, like that phrase.
Yeah.
When I was
Izzy for life.
14, 15-year-old, I thought that 16-year-old, I thought that was a cool phrase. So I made myself Izzy Faux Life. And it really was F-O, Izzy Faux Life.
Did you do like Hollywood Hogan where you go?
I didn't. I probably should have done stuff like that, right? But I know I try to act like
the
I'm
Macho
cool.
Man and Randy Savage. Hollywood Hogan.
Cool. I'm not cool. Speaking of Macho Man, Cody Decker will join us on Thursday like he normally does. His Twitter was Instagram on Anti-Hero Baseball, whatever his handles. He dressed in full Macho Man gear.
That's great.
Go check if you didn't look. If you
I
go
did not
check
see
out,
that.
oh my
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, and all he kept doing was stepping the Slim Jim like the whole time. Yeah. Yeah. What did you do? What did you do yesterday while you were waiting for the World Series to get postponed?
What did you say? What did I do?
What were you doing while you were waiting for baseball to get postponed? Because I was
honestly,
sitting there
I was
waiting.
I didn't have any work at like you had.
Oh yeah, you didn't have any work. You were lucky.
So I was not sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for the game. Like I knew there was a possibility that I was enjoying the day. Like I was enjoying the sun. I was enjoying the time with my kids. We were going outside. I had a catch with them before we went down. Like we just had a really fun time. And then they went trick-or-treating. And we did 2 rounds of that, had some pizza, relaxed with them, watched them as they did some candy trading, and then got back home. And then it was shower time, get them brush their teeth and get them ready for bed and all that kind of good stuff. So
candy trading is great, by the way.
Yeah. So I just kind of mentally took the day off from sports. I mean, it's not like I know what happened in the Monday night game. I did not watch it pillar to post. In the World Series game, I would have been more into that, but I knew the game had gotten postponed. But I was not waiting like you were because you had worked for MLB Network.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I'm sitting there, and we had our first meeting at 3 p.m. And one of our bosses comes on, like he hops into the Zoom actually, and he's like, "Hey guys, just want to give you a heads up. My gut is we don't have a game tonight, right?" He's like, "From what I'm hearing, the weather, blah blah blah, right?" We talk about it a little bit, and we're like, "All right, we're gonna plan as if we have a show, right?" So an hour later, we get the update. Still no update. Trending towards probably not playing, but trying to figure things out. Around 5 o'clock, get an update. Starting to think we might have a game. So be ready for your social hit at 6:30. Be ready for MLB Tonight at 7 o'clock, and be ready for Bettor's Eye at 7:30. So get all ready. Notes are done. Researcher Jessica Brand, lead researcher, sends over her notes. Stryker and I exchanging stuff. I'm speaking with Bones, our producer, on the day. I was literally about to tweet something out about one of my plays. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to hold it back. Who knows if this is going to happen, right? Commissioner Rob Manfred's on MLB Network at 6 p.m. And you could hear it in his voice. This game was not going to happen. Like, it was clear as day. So game doesn't happen. And Moose, I think the biggest thing that we now have to talk about as we spin this forward, there's betting angles here on the length of this series, right? Because if it goes 6, it goes 7, it goes 5, whatever, right? But also just from a genesis of, like, do you change your plays from yesterday to today? Like, I loved Altuve yesterday. I still do. I think that going up against Ranger Suarez is a little bit different than going up against Noah Syndergaard. And Noah Syndergaard, it was going to end up more than likely being 3 innings and a bullpen game. Now, Ranger Suarez, they hope for 5 innings before they have to get to the bullpen. The complexion of this series, Moose, changes because now Nola can go in game 4. They could pitch Wheeler in game 5, although I'm hearing he probably still goes 6 and you do the bullpen game in game 5. This changes a lot of things, I think.
Yeah, well, I think now with no off day in between where that's getting eliminated, where now you're playing, the next maybe 5 consecutive games.
Well, no, we still do get the off day on Friday. We still do get. Yeah. So the official, the official word, no problem. So the official word is now we'll do game.
Tuesday,
Yeah,
Wednesday,
game 3 on
Thursday, off day,
Tuesday,
Friday,
game
Saturday,
4.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what they're going to do is
Yeah.
they, as they really wanted, they wanted like the purity of the game to still exist and the fairness, I guess you could say, of the game to still exist. So now you'll end your game on Thursday night, game 5, assuming the series is not over and there will be a game 6 at that point. You figure you're done at 12:30 in the morning. They did not want to have both teams have to fly then to Houston, land at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And again, I know it's lap of luxury when they fly, but still, they give them the off day. Now you'd have game 6 on Saturday. Game 7 would be going head to head against the NFL on Sunday. But that is what Major League Baseball has decided.
Yeah, and if you get a game 7, it'll get buried by the National Football League on Sunday. It's just something that they wanted to try and avoid, right? So, that's good. I thought they were still, excuse me, I thought they were still going to go 5 consecutive days after the rain out last night. Good that they're have that travel day. My bad, and thanks for the clarification, Keith. But yeah, I mean, I think the fact that it does change things. I mean, now that you have Suarez starting tonight instead of Noah Syndergaard, see how the rest of the series does play out. You're right, I think, in the interpretation of what the pitching would have looked like for Philadelphia with a Syndergaard start, who doesn't look like anywhere near the pitcher that he was with the New York Mets. And now you've got Suarez on the mound, and you've got McCullers. I'm curious about McCullers, who wasn't particularly sharp against the Yankees, not having a great touch and feel with that curveball. What does McCullers look like tonight down in Philadelphia with that extra day? We know that he did suffer some sort of a bruise to his elbow when a champagne bottle, in a celebration after they, won the divisional series in the locker room. Somebody banged his elbow with a champagne bottle. So he wasn't. I mean, he looked great against Seattle. He didn't look great in his start against the Yankees. Let's see exactly what he looks like tonight. So I'd agree with you. I think from a Houston prop perspective, like you were mentioning about that, if you believed in Altuve, you're still going to believe in Altuve. I'm not so sure because I think Suarez is a better pitcher. I think those kind of adjustments, like I was all over the over last night. Like I thought runs were going to be scored off Syndergaard, and I thought runs were going to be scored off McCullers. Now with Suarez, who is a very, very crafty starter, can work himself into and out of trouble. There's no doubt that he has good stuff, and I think he's got better stuff at this point of his career than Noah Syndergaard. I'm curious exactly, how it looks. Not exactly 100% sure that we get an over tonight, even though that's a launching pad of a ballpark down in Philadelphia.
Although I do still like Houston to win tonight. And if I do, then I'm going to go Houston money line with the over 5.5 game total. So you buy down the total, the 2 runs. And then if you can get the 6 runs scored in the game in total, Houston wins. You're at, plus 115, plus 120. It was actually plus 140 yesterday. Quickly, just to answer in the chat, Moose, work and grind, what the purity, then why wait like 10 days to start after the divisional round? That's a TV thing. Like like every league does that, by the way. Like we have that problem in the NBA all the time too, where we know what day the NBA finals are starting, no matter what. It's a television thing. It's a ticket sales thing. So that has nothing to do with MLB and purity. The reason I mentioned the purity is because they want, once you're in a series, they wanted to keep one travel day. Now, if today got rained out also, let's say, now I don't think you're getting that travel day anymore. Like now you have to start changing things a little bit.
Yeah, we could talk about the purity all we want. I mean, in the previous round, because they didn't want to go up against the National Football League, they got rid of an off day.
Yeah.
So like it is what it is. I thought with the rain out last night, I thought they were going to do whatever they could to try and avoid playing on an NFL Sunday if it's a game 7. So because they want as many eyeballs on the sets as possible, we know the National Football League is an absolute behemoth. So I think for just competitive balance and making sure that you don't hamper one team over another, I think you have to have 2 games, an off day, play 3, have an off day, and then play the next 2. And that's, if rain interferes with any of the next 3 nights down in Philadelphia, I don't think this series, they're going to push it back to Monday. I would have a hard time believing they'd do that. But who knows? Maybe they would.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, obviously, a lot of this stuff can just be done, right? I mean, like all these leagues, if they want, they can kind of do whatever they want, really. I mean, we saw the MLB continue to drag their feet at that Yankees game and allow people to just sit there for hours and hours while they were, they spend a lot of money, right? Like ultimately, money is money.
Well, next Monday night, the game is Ravens Saints.
Okay. But how about Thursday now? So think about Thursday being a Philadelphia and Houston fans' dream. Sweet Lou just wrote that in there too.
Down in Houston, correct.
Yep. So Eagles at Texans at 8:20. Watch it on Amazon Prime, right?
Yes.
Which I guess the whole second screen thing works perfectly. You could put Amazon Prime on your phone or your tablet if you want, and then put Game 5 of the World Series on the big screen.
God, that is terrible. That is a terrible Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Eagles-Texans is an awful game.
How are we going to sell that? Eagles trying to stay undefeated before they go to the bye week.
Yeah, that's I sold you a couple weeks back.
You tried.
I tried. I can't sell you on Eagles-Texans. That's a game that
I'll come up with selling points.
What's up? I'll be watching because my son's a huge Eagle fan. But outside of that, if you have no rooting interest, and I understand, gambling puts a rooting interest on it, so you could make it interesting that way. That's an impossible game to watch. The 1-5-1 Texans entertain the Philadelphia Eagles.
But you're going to get points. So I think the only difference is we should see points scored, right? Because the Eagles are a high-scoring offense. So you'll have Jalen Hurts rushing props. You'll have some passing props. You'll have A.J. Brown. You'll have Devontae Smith, Miles Sanders. And then even on the Texans side of things, they have, one, we'll know by then if Brandon Cooks is a member of the team anymore. So, oh my God, you know how much worse that team is going to be if they don't have Cooks too? Ugh.
I know. 4 o'clock deadline later on today is the NFL trade deadline. So we'll see if Brandon Cooks indeed does get moved by the Houston Texans. And maybe Cooks ends up in Green Bay with the Packers. They could use a wideout.
The only thing with the Cooks thing is that if you look at the numbers, whoever trades for him has to pay him $18 million next year guaranteed.
I know.
That's a lot of money on your books.
But you could work it to where you have the Texans absorb some of that money and then make a trade. That's a possibility as well.
Yeah.
We'll continue to look at that.
I know we're going to do trade deadline
pickups. Mark Zinno is going to join us a little bit later on in the program, right around 11:30. And we've got a cool giveaway today. We did one yesterday. We've got a cool giveaway today. We're giving away our daily social media giveaway on Twitter all week long, and you could be a winner. Follow us at Bettor Network and retweet the official pinned giveaway post. Our one lucky Bettor fan will win today's prize, which is a Garrett Wilson autographed full-size Jets helmet. That's awesome. Garrett Wilson autographed full-size Jets helmet. Contest closes today at 9 Eastern on Bettor Sports Live with Rick Kamla. He'll announce the winner. You must follow Bettor Network on Twitter. Retweet the pinned giveaway post to qualify. It's brought to you by GetInTheGame.com and, of course, Bettor Sports Network. So there you have it. So
hopefully someone else would be throwing Garrett Wilson the ball, right?
Yeah. Zach Wilson's awful. Garrett Wilson's good. Zach Wilson's awful.
Yeah. Zach Wilson is not a good NFL quarterback. And I know that I'll get heat for this because people will say I'm just hating on the Jets, and he's just not a good NFL quarterback. Now, it doesn't mean that he can't ever become a good quarterback. I mean, 7 years later, Geno Smith is a good quarterback in the NFL. So, anything can happen. But Zach Wilson, I started thinking about, I'm watching that game, and it felt like Mark, it was, no. Who said seeing the ghost? Was it Sam Darnold? It was Sam Darnold, yeah. When Sam Darnold said the seeing the ghost thing, Moose,
yes.
I'm like, is Wilson seeing ghosts? Because I don't get, he looked like a middle school quarterback that thought he could just fling the ball in the air and no one was going to pick it off. It was bad.
Yeah, his decision-making was awful. I mean, it was terrible. And they could come out and say that all they want, that, no matter what, they're that Wilson's going to be the starting quarterback moving forward unless he gets hurt. Let's see. Let's see how many games he has like he had on Sunday where the team is ready to win and Wilson is not, how that room reacts to it when you've got potentially viable options behind him that might not be great. And I'm not telling you Mike White is great, who's now the backup quarterback. But I will tell you that I don't think he'd make the cataclysmic mental errors that Zach Wilson is making on the football field, because those are gaffes that you can't make in the National Football League. I mean, a couple of those interceptions where he's trying to throw the ball away, and one of them, he said, I'm trying to make a play. Well, he's trying to hit Ty Conklin down the football field while he was quadruple covered. I mean, this is not BYU. This is the NFL. You can't go out there and play sandlot football and expect everything is going to work out, where you have a decided advantage if you're BYU based on the schedule that you're going up against. That is not the case. They need a lot better from Zach Wilson, and that's where Robert Saleh is going to continue to get asked the questions about this as he continues to struggle in the games that they won. Keith, we talked about it. I mean, he barely threw the football. He had 21 attempts, 18 attempts, 26 attempts. The only time he really flashed this year was fourth quarter against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is it. Yeah. Outside of that, from Wilson, you've got very, very kind of below average play at the quarterback position, where the Jets have won it based on the ground game, the brilliance of Breece Hall pre-injury, and the great defense.
And the issue for the Jets right now, too, is the perception, right? If I came into the year saying that the Jets would be 5-4 going into the Week 10 bye, everyone and their mother would be jumping for joy, think it's the greatest thing ever. But the problem is, if the Jets lose to the Bills this week, you've now lost, 2 games in a row, and you just don't feel great. You feel like it's turning now the other way, right? Like that's just the perception of it. 5-4 after starting 5-2 feels different than had they been, 3-4 and win their last 2 games before the bye week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, that's and that was a winnable game against New England, and this is not a winnable game against Buffalo unless the Bills just do not show up. I mean, the Jets are not beating the Buffalo Bills on Sunday, as they are like.
I'd be shocked if they did.
Yeah, I'd be absolutely stunned. So, yeah, I mean, I do agree. Baby J used to put in the chat session. I do agree the Mike White move is definitely made on purpose. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, I don't. I think when you're the head coach, say, well, it gives him the opportunity to prepare physically and mentally each week, just in case Zach goes down to an injury. I think that says a lot. Listen, the Jets are not publicly going to throw Zach Wilson under the bus, but we all have watched what he has done at the quarterback spot and how he has played, and he's not getting better. Like, that's the thing. Like, where's the growth from Zach Wilson when you built this entire offense around him? And if you're the Jets, you don't want to you'd be failing the rest of the team if you say to yourself, all right, well, we can live with him struggling the way he's struggling if it continued to cost you games. And yes, I get he helped you win a game in Pittsburgh a couple weeks back. Well, he gave one back on Sunday. I mean, because if you just got average play from your quarterback, you're beating the New England Patriots. It might be, a 14 or 17-13 final, 14-13. I mean, I'm not telling you that you're going to win that game by daylight, but you couldn't win the game based on the way that he played. He was awful.
Yeah, and I probably wouldn't, by the way, I wouldn't bench Zach Wilson. I think I would let him play. And maybe this is my preconceived notion. I never thought of this Jets team as a playoff team. I still don't see them as a playoff team. I know that they have 5 wins, but I still see them as an 8-ish win team. I see the flaws in their roster. And I'm looking at other teams in the AFC that I just think will finish the year better than them. It might be my preconceived motion. I fully understand that.
Yeah, I think they're better than you think they are. I do. I think when you look at it, Sauce Gardner on every level of the defense, whether it be Gardner, Mosley, Quinton Williams along that defensive line, you've got playmakers. They've solidified their offensive line as best as they can. Vera Tucker is a huge injury. Breece Hall is a huge injury when you look at them at that as well. Garrett Wilson's a player. You've got 2 good tight ends. Corey Davis could fill a role on team, and Elijah Moore has never been utilized. I think they're more talented than you think they are, Keith. But I mean, we can look at it differently. And Joe Douglas, I'll tell you this though, you do know this because he said it. Joe Douglas looks at this team and says, I think this is a playoff contender. He said in April, said in May, said that I think that we should, and that's not mincing words or pie in the sky kind of stuff. So you do need more from Wilson as a quarterback to show you some kind of growth here. And if he doesn't, Keith, how well the rest of the team is playing from how we've seen them play, I don't think you can continue to carry the quarterback if he continues to fail.
Yeah, and I think we said it last week with the James Robinson trade, right? Like the thing that I loved about it was that Joe Douglas and the brass have basically said we no longer have a loser's mentality. That was what I took from that. This Jets team not only believes that they can be a playoff team, they want to be a playoff team, and they want to go for it now. The Wilson to White thing is I look at Mike White, and what I see in Mike White is a poor man's Zach Wilson. I don't think he's any better than Zach Wilson. And I think the reason why you have him up on the roster as opposed to Flacco is if anything happens to Wilson, White runs the offense a little bit more similar than Flacco would. I don't know. I think this is an 8-win team, and that's an awesome season. Before the year, if you had said, right, like Moose, if I told any Jets fan you're going to win 8 games this year before the year, you would have been ecstatic. Now, Jets fans got a taste and thought they're going to win 9 or 10. That's why.
Well, because their team led them to believe that way.
Yeah.
So you could look at, I mean, that's what, preseason kind of thoughts, expectations for a team when you look at how a season plays out or how the team actually looks on the field. Listen, I thought Matt Ryan was going to work in Indianapolis. He was a dumpster fire. So, I mean, everything, and then you reassess where the team is. I don't know if everyone thought Sauce Gardner was going to be great. I don't know if everyone thought instantaneously that Sauce Gardner was going to be as good as he is as being a shutdown corner, that Quentin Williams was going to take a step up and play arguably the most consistent or be the best defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman up until this point in time in the National Football League. So expectations can change based on how a team goes. Like if you told the Giant fan, hey, you're going to win, you're going to be 6-2 through the first 8 games before the start of the season. Or if I told you won 7 games this year and you Barkley had a good year, Daniel Jones played relatively well, would you take it based on what they have seen over the last 4 or 5 years? Yeah, they'd sign on the dotted line. However, Keith, now you look at the Giants at 6-2. If they don't make the playoffs this year, it's a disaster. Like that's where the expectations for the Giants have changed now, because going into the game Sunday, against the Seattle Seahawks, they were 6-1, then 83% chance of making it to the postseason. So expectations can change based on what we have seen, and we've seen a lot of parity in the National Football League. There's not a lot of great teams. I mean, there's the Bills, there's the Chiefs, there's the Eagles, there's the Cowboys, and there's the Minnesota Vikings. Everybody else is kind of either on average or bad. So
let's just do this though, because I'm with you on the Giants, by the way, and I see we're getting some callers here, and we'll get them in just a second. I'm with you on the Giants, right? I think the Giants at 6-2 now. If they don't make the playoffs, it's a disappointment. Eagles are a better football team. Dallas might be a better football team. Okay. Past that, I don't see anybody that is clearly better than Giants. I believe in the Vikings more than you do, but honestly, I think it's kind of similar, right? So the Vikings they'll probably win the NFC North. The NFC South is a debacle. Like whoever wins that, whatever, right? And the NFC West right now, Seattle is 5-3. I know they just beat the Giants. I still don't fully buy into them. Maybe I'm wrong, but like the NFC is up for grabs. The AFC, Buffalo better than the Jets. Dolphins, I'm sorry, are better than the Jets. Ravens are better than the Jets. I still believe in the Bengals more than the Jets. Tennessee is better than the Jets. Chiefs are better than the Jets. Chargers are probably better than the Jets. That's already 7 teams. Yeah, that's where I sit, and that's why I don't view the Jets as a playoff team. Again, if the Jets win 8 games, everyone should be ecstatic about it. It's the fact that you got tickled at the beginning of the season and you got your 5 wins early. That's all it is.
But you could also say, okay, well, I'm looking at the Jets and they could be better with a quarterback who might not be great, might not be the long-term answer, is not going to be bad. It's not going to cost us. That's the point.
But do we think Mike White is going to get them more wins than Zach Wilson?
I don't think he'd make the mistakes that Wilson made on Sunday. Like the mistakes on Sunday that Wilson made were horrific.
Agreed.
Like those were awful. Like those were like, oh my God, like what are you doing?
He looked like a rookie.
Football decisions.
Rookie deer in headlights.
Yeah, like has no idea what the hell is going on. Like those are the kind of decisions that Zach Wilson made on Sunday. No, I mean, Keith, I listen, when everyone was going crazy last year about Mike White, I said, I don't. There's a reason why the Jets went out there and traded up to drafted Zach Wilson second overall. They didn't trade up, but drafted Zach Wilson second overall. They were looking for a guy to be a franchise quarterback. But with that being said, Keith, when you draft a guy second overall, I'm not looking for him to be a game manager.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I'm seeing that kind of rhetoric too from those that cover the team. Well, you could listen. All he has to do is not make the critical mistake. No, I drafted Wilson overall to be the reason.
I mean, he's supposed to be the second Mahomes, right? Wasn't that what everyone was touting him?
My offense thrives. He's supposed to be great. He's supposed to be fantastic. He's off-platform throws, being able to throw all over the place, creative with the mindset. And you haven't seen any of that. I'm not telling you that I'm all of a sudden this huge Mike White believer, but I'll tell you, I do think it's more than just like I think the move to Mike White being the backup quarterback to Wilson, I think is significant in some ways. I don't know if we'll pull the trigger, but I do think that is very, very interesting.
I am with you. For our frame of reference, and it will not happen. I'm throwing that there. Would you rather have, and I just look at teams, would you rather have Trubisky right now or Zach Wilson as your Jets quarterback?
No, Wilson.
You would?
Yeah, probably. They're both terrible.
Exactly. I think they're the same quarterback, and that's my point.
Yeah. Yeah, Trubisky, but Trubisky had more time. Like Wilson, you still got a little bit of time to figure it out, but he's just got to start to figure it out.
Well, I mean, interesting
grind, when I said disaster about the Giants, I mean, you think if the Giants, who are 6-2 going into the bye week, they've got the Texans on November 13th, the Lions, and the Cowboys, right? So, I mean, conceivably, they're going to beat Houston, so they're going to get themselves to 7-2. They have Detroit at home. That's probably a win at 8-2. Then you have the Cowboys, the Commanders at home, Eagles at home, Commanders on the road, Vikings on the road, Indianapolis at home, and the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean,
you can't get 4 wins out of that?
They're gonna get to 10 wins.
And 10 wins in the NFC should make you a wild card team.
Yeah, you should be a playoff team. I mean, you started the year. There are expectations now on the Giants. I mean, now go and take advantage of what you were able to accomplish. You came back from 17-3 down against the Green Bay Packers and won. You came back against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens and you won. Now I'm going to look at it and say, well, no matter whatever they do now here moving forward is gravy. No, go make the playoffs.
Yeah. The negative fan is going to sit there, and I mean the negative sports fan is going to say, well, every game is won by, single digits and it's going to catch up to them. Or they are a battle-tested team that knows how to win close games. Like, you don't have to blow everybody out like Buffalo did last year. By the way, Buffalo didn't win the Super Bowl last year. I don't know if people knew that. The Bills actually didn't make it to the Super Bowl and win it. Yeah, I want to make sure people understand that they were winning every game by 10 points, but they didn't win the Super Bowl. Like, you don't have to blow everybody out. You don't. The Eagles aren't blowing everybody out. And the Eagles are their 1, 2, or 3 in rankings, depending on where you are in the NFL, right? Like they're one of the 3 best teams in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, they did this week, but I get the point. Right.
Yeah, this week
Pittsburgh Steelers. But yeah, I mean, they're right. They've led some teams back in, and even in the Pittsburgh game, they start to let the Steelers leak themselves back into it. Let's go to the phones. Baby J is with us. What's going on, Baby J? Good morning, brother.
I have a feeling. Is this going to get rowdy from Baby J? What do you think Baby J's Jets feelings are right now? Here we go.
You guys hear me?
We got you now.
What's going on, gentlemen?
What's up?
Good morning.
So, I agree with what Moose said earlier, right? My perception of the Jets has changed. In the beginning of the season, going into the season, if you told me 7 wins, I would have signed up for it. Absolutely. But going into last Sunday's game at 5-2, I'm not satisfied now with just 7 wins. To me now, I feel that's going to be a bad season. 5-2 with 10 games left, and we win two more games the rest of the way. Nah, I'm not signing up for that.
I said 8, by the way. I said 8 would be the number, not 7.
Right.
8.
No. But I'm saying me. When I came into the season, 7, I was good with 7. Like, you know what? 7. But now I can't sign up for 7. With 10 games left, or now 9 games to win 2, I think that's a bad season, especially with how good this Jet defense is. This is a very good Jet defense, right? Our quarterback play, though, is the problem. Right? Winning, they say winning is the great deodorant. So when we went on this 4-game winning streak, Zach didn't play well. We ran the ball down everybody's throat and it masked how bad he was playing. But I'm okay with that because he's still young. Now, going to Sunday's game, he looked terrible when they said, we need you to go win this game for us. And that's the problem right now with Zach. Zach is holding this team back. So what does the management do? Do we go for it, or do we just tell the guys in the locker room, hey, we just got to deal with the growing pains? Like, I don't know how you handle this now.
What's the go for it, though? So the problem with that, and don't hang up, is you don't have a go for it quarterback on your roster right now. And you're not going to trade for one, are you?
And no, and I agree with that. We don't have that. But the question is, how do you sell that to a veteran? Let's say, like, I'm just going to say CJ Mosley. And we all know CJ Mosley is the team guy. But how do you sell that to a guy like CJ Mosley, who doesn't have many more years left? And, or Quinnen Williams, who's been in this program now for 4 years and doesn't even know what winning is because they don't win. So how do you continue to sell this to guys like that and a fan base who's starving? Like, we are starving for just one playoff appearance. We are starving for that. Like, how does management sell that, So that's just my frustration with Zach Wilson. And that pass on throw the ball 17 rows into the stands, bro. Why are you throwing it right to Rob Saleh, who's standing there for it to get picked? Like, come on, bro. You got to be smarter than that. I'm not a quarterback, and I knew you don't throw the ball there. Throw that ball 17 rows deep. You know what I mean? So that's just my frustration right now with the Jets. And I still think we can make the playoffs. 500 the rest of the way can get them probably into the playoffs. But, that's just a pipe dream. And I wanted to just change the subject real quick. You guys earlier were talking about your kids, right?
Yeah.
And Moose, you were saying you're not ready for your young man to start going out on his own.
No.
So as a father, I have two boys. Actually, I don't have two boys. I have two men. My youngest just turned 21.
Oh.
Yeah. And I remember when he was younger, and it was one of those, he didn't need me to take him a bath anymore. It made me feel like, damn, my son doesn't need me no more. And I called my dad. I said, Dad, like, I don't understand. Like, how do you deal with this? And my dad said, bro, who are you calling right now? Your son always needs his father.
Oh, look at that's a good one.
What did your dad like? That's an emotional moment.
What? And I was like,
what did your dad? That's great advice from your dad. But what else did he say to you?
And that was just it. He just left it right there. And I'm just like, you're right.
That was drop the mic moment. Who are you calling right now?
Exactly. Drop the mic moment. He said, and then his next thing was, you're always going to need me till God calls me home. That's exactly what he told me.
I think it's true. Yeah, that's
so your kids are always going to need you guys. Don't worry about it. It's just as we get older and they get older, we're going to grow and mature with them, bro. And the advice that we're going to give them is going to be different. And now I got grandbabies, and I got to, I'm reliving the whole cycle with them. Yeah. So I just wanted to leave that with you guys.
BJ, how old were your sons when they could beat you in sports?
Never. They still can't beat me.
They still can't? Nice.
Still can't. I give them buckets every day.
You're the best.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great advice.
All right, guys. Have a good one, man.
That was sage advice from BJ's dad. There's no doubt when he says that. Where your kids are always going to need their dad. That's great.
They do.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that? At what age you think your boys are going to beat you in sports?
Um.
Do you remember? You remember the first time you beat your father in with something for real? Because I do.
I mean, we used to play a lot of different things. We played stickball.
Okay.
We used to play. We played racquetball, basketball. We did a lot of things. Like my dad. I remember on the basketball court the first time we were at South Orangetown Middle School. First time I beat him in a game. I remember that. Racquetball we used to have. And that was fun. We used to go and play that at night, like twice a week. It was fun. Those were fun contests and everything like that. It was great. It was great. Sad thing is sometimes I look back on it. I don't know if I appreciated it as much as I should have at the time. Not to get all deep on everybody, but now that I look back on those times as my dad has gotten older, and that time spent with him, I don't know if I necessarily I appreciated it. I wouldn't say I didn't, but I look back and those were special times. I don't know if I really kind of captured it as much as I should have at the time.
Yeah, I hear.
It was just great. Like those are special times. Like I love going in the backyard, playing catch with my kids, playing pop-up contests and ground balls and how to throw the ball and everything like that. So it's great. Like,
Yeah.
it's just awesome.
Got to soak it all in because it does go fast. Yeah, I was 15 years old when I finally beat my father in one-on-one basketball, like for real. Like, I mean, I'm sure there were times I beat him, but it would definitely like for real, for real. And my dad's a younger dad. Like he's, I don't, is he 70 yet? Yeah, I think, yeah, he just turned 70. So he's like a young father. And he still plays basketball and still like he could so pretty cool. He's either 70 or 71 years old. Let's do math. 71, I think. 70, 71, whatever. He could still beat Austin in basketball. And Austin is an 11-year-old sixth grader. And my dad can still beat Austin in basketball. But the reason why this came about with the beating thing is, man, I'm wondering how long I'm going to be able to beat my children in sports. I'm holding out, man. I'm trying. I want to make sure that's part of the reason why I try to, like, I've realized lately, I'm like, I got to stay in good shape, not just for what we do or for vanity or anything like that. I want to hold off Austin as long as I can. He still, he thinks he could beat me now. He can't, by the way. He can't. But like, I beat my dad at 15. I'm hoping I can still beat Austin when Austin's 15. I'm hoping.
That's I get it. I think you'll probably still be able to beat him when he's 15.
I think so. Because as long as I stay in shape, I think I'll be able to bully ball him. You know, like I'll be
physical with him.
Yeah, I'll just be physical with him and knock him down and dunk on him and tell him that yeah. Do you give your kids pity wins?
Do you give your kids pity points?
So like it depends on what you mean. And Moose, like your kids are a little bit younger, and like your two younger boys, like I'm sure you let them beat you in board games, right? Like I'm not beating my kids in shoots and ladders all the time.
I try and have fun. Like I said, like it's not a matter of
I don't want them crying over everything.
Like I really believe either you have a competitive fire or you don't. Like I don't think it's something that it gets kind of either you have a drive and you have a work ethic and I know you could be a product of your surroundings, but there's something like inner either you have it. And I could, like, all three of my boys, they are very competitive, which I think is a good thing. Now it's a matter of trying to harness that competitiveness, and make it so that they're able to benefit from it instead of like just beating each other up every day.
Yeah. Are you laughing at Ernie's thing there?
Yeah, when you play your kids,
your mama joke's a fair game.
Yes, that's true. So I mean, that's it. I mean, so do I give my kids pity? Yeah, I mean, we play street hockey and stuff like that. We have every fall, winter. I made a Malusis Cup, like a Stanley Cup. I went down last year. And I made a fake Stanley Cup. I bought styrofoam stuff, spray painted it gray, and then put the Malusis Cup on it. So we play. We have a contest. We choose sides. It's 2-on-2, and we play a best of 7 series outside that we play to 21 each game. No slap shots because we're not wearing equipment, so you can't use slap shots and everything like that. So we had last year. Jackson and Gregory won the Malusis Cup. So it's in Jackson's room right now, but Paul and I are going for the Malusis Cup this fall.
I think, would you be cool if I ripped off this idea? Like, I want to go get a Larry O'Brien trophy, a fake Larry O'Brien trophy made, and it'll be Austin and Jody versus me and Alex in 2-on-2 basketball.
Dude, you should do that. It didn't take me long to make it. I got to be honest with you. Like, I went to Michael's. I'll give them a pop. Like, Michael's is an arts and crafts store. I don't know if they have them out on Long Island. We have one. Like
they do. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, so we went to, and it's a great arts and crafts store. So I went there one day, and I took one of the boys with me, and I found the way to be able to make the Malusis Cup, and then I was able to kind of glue it all together and did that, and then spray painted it gray and put a little thing on it. You should do that. It's great. The boys take great pride in it. They really do. They're like, when are we starting the Malusis Cup this fall? So I'm like, soon.
It's such a good idea. I love that idea. Absolutely. I'm ripping that off. Yeah. Working grinders. So tell the kids when you win, it'll be real. And when they whine, I remind them that they would know it was a Halloween. Exactly. Like when it comes to sports, I mean, I think like you don't have to crush your kid's soul, like sure. If I want to, like if Alex my 8-year-old challenges me to 1-on-1 basketball, I'm going to let him hit some shots. Like, it is what it is. I'm not going to what am I going to, like, Billy Madison them? Now you're all going to die and, like, swat all their shots and stuff. No, I'm not doing that. But I think there's something to, like I said, the first I remember vividly the day that I beat my father one-on-one basketball outside the house that I grew up in on the street ball on our street corner. I remember it. I do.
Yeah. Like if my kid my 5-year-old goes to take a shot, I'm not going to swat it back into his face
and start like, giving him the Dikembe. No. And now no dessert for you.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But, push up, son.
Well, if you do that, dude, you gotta let me know. I want to see what it looks like. When
I
you
gotta figure this out.
You
personally made it, or your Donna made it?
No, I made it.
I'm not very artsy.
I did it myself. You want to see it?
Yeah. Can we do? Sure. All right. Well, actually,
how about a break?
We'll take a break. When we get back, I want to see the Malusis Cup. We also obviously a bunch of stuff still to get into. I have my waiver wire that I'm going to give you guys. We have Mark Zinno in hour number 2. Oh, forgot to mention, this is big. So tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, Front Yard Fantasy, amazing show, leads right into us throughout the morning, 7 o'clock until 10 o'clock in the morning. They're going to have Amon Green, the former Packer running back, on the show. That should be cool. Really good spot. So yeah, get to social media. Hit those guys up on Front Yard Fantasy. Hit them up on Bettor Sports Network. You can, post some questions maybe that you want the guys to ask Amon Green. We can do that. So we'll do the waiver wire. Still got some World Series stuff. Still got Week 8 recap to do. And the Malusis Cup. Oh, this is the greatest tease in TV and radio in the history of TV and radio. We'll be right back.
Let's talk a little Thrive Fantasy, shall we? Because he is with us. And that is the CEO of Thrive Fantasy joins us now. And that is Adam Weinstein, who is now a Thrive Fantasy proud sponsor. Well, we're happy that they are sponsoring the Moose and Keith show right here on the Bettor Sports Network. Hey, Adam, good morning. Thanks for the time this morning. We appreciate it. And thanks for partnering up with us. We're excited about the opportunity ahead.
Good morning, fellas. Excited on our end as well.
Yeah, really cool stuff. I did my first NFL challenge yesterday. I did a Monday night one, ended up hitting 6 out of 10 and ended up winning $25. So I did pretty well. Finished 260 out of almost 1,200.
I mean, hitting 6 out of 10 in any other platform, you're probably not making your money back or being profitable. But on Thrive, if you hit 60%, you got a chance.
Talk us through that too, because I do find like that part of it is really cool. So many options to become a winner.
Yeah, so unlike your traditional daily fantasy where you're drafting one quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver, we give a user a list of 20 over-unders in which they pick 10 out of 20. Each one has a fantasy point associated with it based on the likelihood it is to hit. So you can get 7 out of 10 right. I can get 8 out of 10 right, but you can still theoretically beat me if you pick more underdogs. So a lot of fun, more of a pick up and play type mentality. Essentially, the reason behind Thrive is I didn't want people to have to research 30 quarterbacks, 60 running backs, 150 wide receivers, right? We're only asking you about the Bradys of the world, the Zekes. So these are the people that you want to engage with, the ones that you're knowledgeable about. And it's just more streamlined, more easy for the casual fan to compete.
Adam, when did you mentioned the reasoning behind Thrive Fantasy? When did you realize that there was an opportunity within the marketplace of this missing that you think would work?
Yeah, so I've been a player prop guy for probably 12 to 13 years now, way before PASPA. I graduated UMass Amherst 2012 with a sport management degree when DK and FanDuel were coming aboard. I was like, given my sports knowledge, I'm going to crush it on these sites. Lo and behold, I got my absolute butt kicked. So I thought, hey, if player props and daily fantasy had a baby, I think that could be pretty cool. I left my sales job at the Yankees in 2016 to found Thrive. We launched in 2018, a month prior to PASPA. And the rest is history. We started with the NFL, MLB, and NBA, and we now offer about a dozen plus sports and esports across the board.
Moose and Keith is sponsored by Thrive Fantasy. Prop up on Thrive Fantasy this season.
Raindrops, drop top, smoking, no cooking, the hot pot. Cooking on your bitch, yeah, that. Cooking up in the crock pot. We came from nothing to something.
All right, it's Moose and Keith. We're back here. I know Moose is out there getting the Malusis Cup, wrangling that for you. We did want to come back with some Migos music. Sad news this morning, 28-year-old Takeover. One of the three members of that group, Migos, was shot and killed right actually in front of his uncle, Quavo. So sad news across the rap landscape and the music landscape. 28 years old. He was at a bowling alley. And, unfortunately, the word was, I guess they were playing dice and there was some wrong people around and an argument happened and someone shot Takeover, the rapper, the 28-year-old.
That's awful.
He was pronounced dead on the scene. Two other people were shot as well. Haven't gotten an update on them. So obviously thoughts going out to their families and, the music world lost another one again. That's what happens. It seems like, unfortunately, it feels like every month or so we find out about another, great musical artist or someone that passes away way too soon.
Yeah, no question. I mean, just awful. I mean, just terrible.
Yeah.
And horrific story. There's no question about it. And he's an unbelievable talent gone way too soon.
Yeah. Exactly. Migos, the group, obviously, was it Bad and Bougie was the song a couple years ago, put them kind of on the map. It's a trio of family members, and Takeover actually wasn't on the most recent album that Quavo put out. But yeah, sad news there. All right, we got to spin it forward into positive news. Did you find the cup or no?
I did. Yeah.
All right, I gotta see this. So this is the world-renowned Malusa. That is awesome. That is really cool. How heavy is it?
Oh, it's styrofoam. It's not heavy.
Oh, it's all styrofoam. Okay.
It's all styrofoam.
All right.
So that's it. So yes,
that is
it.
cool. And then now, what? So it just says
Champions,
Malusa's Cup. What does it say?
Last year,
yeah,
in February of 22, well, this past year, Stanford Hyenas. That's Jackson and Gregory's team, right? They won the Malusis Cup, so they were the first one. And then whoever wins the next one, I'll put another label on underneath whoever wins that. Street hockey best of 7 series.
What I love about this is one, like the memories you're making right now are fantastic.
Yeah.
But like in theory, hopefully you're doing this when they have kids, right?
Yeah.
Like how cool would that be if like 25 years from now, Grandpa Moose is doing this with, and now suddenly it's like a longer series and there's more options that could win.
Well, hopefully it develops to where like they have kids or whatever, and where it's a scenario where like you have like multiple rounds.
Yeah.
Like it's great. Like,
and like the cup isn't even in your house anymore. Like now suddenly like, oh man, this could be really cool. I love this idea.
Yeah, like last year's got paused mid game one time because my son Gregory hit me in a slap shot in the groin, and I went right down to the ground. It's like, and that's when we put in the no slap shot rule. After that, it was like because we're playing with a street hockey ball and everything like that. But it gets really it gets really competitive. It's fun. Like it's they get all excited for it. I'm excited. They get fired up for it, and we create it. And then, Gregory has it in his room for a little while, and Jackson has it in his room for a little while. It's kind of, hopefully I agree with you. Hopefully it's a tradition that we're able to kind of keep going through generation and generation moving forward.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Add another couple layers to the cup and go from there. But it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's fun.
Want to get through some waivers now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do some waivers. On the QB market, there's still some names out there. And again, as we get through the season, you get into the bye weeks. And again, if this is a word that people don't know, streamer. So if you're streaming a position, it means that you really don't have a great guy at that position to start with, right? So 12-team leagues, this works. You can stream quarterbacks. If you didn't get one of the top 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, and you've been rolling with a guy like Jared Goff or someone like that, you could stream. Justin Fields still very available, about 40% rostered. Rushing matters, right? 40 or more rushing yards in 6 consecutive games. That's a real number. And then more tangible numbers for you. Fields over the last 4 weeks, depending on your scoring, I'm going to go by the scoring in what my leagues have. 17, 18, 23, and 26. Those are the fantasy points that Justin Fields put forth the last 4 weeks. Streamer worthy, yes. Possibly rosterable, yes, as well. I made up that word, rosterable.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the problem with the quarterbacks now is you're not going to find any kind of a week to week solution when you're looking at quarterbacks. It's going to be. I'm talking about the fact it's going to be kind of throwing up a dart up against the wall and hopefully you find something that's a hit. Where you've had disappointing guys like Tom Brady, who was a guy that maybe you thought was going to have a huge year once again, coming off a huge fantasy season last year, has been a massive disappointment, and he's been inconsistent. But we've seen that. I mean, Joe Burrow last night for the Cincinnati Bengals was terrible in Cleveland against the Browns. Didn't have Jamar Chase. We know that, out with the hip injury. That's where you're at the quarterback spot when you're looking at the possibilities. I mean, you're looking at Andy Dalton. You're looking at Sam Ellinger. You're looking at
Mariota.
Right. I mean, you're going to look at Taylor Heineke from the Washington Commanders as being a guy. I mean, he's clearly better than Carson Wentz, but that's really not saying all that much.
Who do the Commanders play this week? Coming up.
Who do the Commanders?
Let's see. Week 9, Commanders are playing the Vikings. Not a great matchup for Heineke. I'm just looking. The guys you just mentioned, I wouldn't start Ellinger against the Patriots. I would not want to start Heineke against the Commanders. I probably wouldn't want to start PJ Walker against Cincinnati. Justin Fields against the Dolphins isn't the best matchup. I'd consider it, though. And then I guess Mariota against the Chargers have not been world beaters. So you could do worse than Mariota, who's got 40 or more rushing yards in 4 consecutive games also.
Yes, you could do that. Yeah. I mean, Mariota would be a guy. I mean, but I get the one thing I worry about him is he has a penchant as well to have a game where he maybe gives you 6 points.
Yeah, I agree.
Or 8 points. Like there's a week where Marcus Mariota could give you 29 points as a high, and then there's weeks where, okay, well, where's the bottom? Like he could be terrible one week as well. What about running backs, Keith?
There's a few options, and one of them's Khalil Herbert, and shockingly, he's still very available. I had to double check this number. Most leagues have him available between 50 and like 45 to 50% available. And I know that Montgomery was out with some injuries, but he has 1 less carry than Montgomery the entire year. So 91 carries for Khalil Herbert, 92 for David Montgomery. And then if you do the yardage, how about the fact that Herbert has 563 rushing yards this year? That's a 6.2 yards per carry. That's the 3rd best yards per carry in the NFL. Montgomery just the 361. I don't know who the better running back is. I honestly don't. I think it's Herbert. Watching them, I think it's Herbert. And I don't know if the Bears know who the better running back is yet. But I do know that if Herbert's available and he's got a 6.2 yards per carry, and you're looking at, some depth issues, I want Herbert on any roster in any league where he's available. I'm going after him.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Especially with the fact that Montgomery might get traded here before the end of the NFL trade deadline at 4:00 Eastern time today. Yeah, Khalil Herbert would be a guy that definitely want to try and add.
Yeah, I'd throw Pacheco in there also, Isaiah Pacheco from Kansas City, rostered about 30% in
He's a
leagues.
gamble, though. And what I mean by that is, and I like Isaiah Pacheco. We've talked about him before, but the problem with him is that, I don't know. Unless you're in the Chiefs game plan room, you have no idea how he's going to be used.
So the reason why I throw him here, he's a stash for me. Okay. And I'm interested to see what happens with Clyde Edwards-Helaire over the next couple of weeks. If Pacheco starts taking the lead role, which I know they started him in week 7, starting really doesn't matter, except for the fact that he technically led Kansas City in rushing yards. Not technically, actually did. He had the most rushing yards of the running backs there. I'm not trying to start Pacheco right now, but at week 8, week 9, week 10, when you're looking at the waiver wire, you're either looking for someone to fill in for someone on bye. You're looking for someone, you're like, oh my God, my team is so beaten up and injured, I'm struggling. Or you're a playoff team and you're looking for someone that maybe you get lightning in a bottle and they turn into your David Johnson from a couple of years ago when you picked him up with the Cardinals in the final 5 weeks and he won everybody their league that year. So that's what you're looking for.
Right. Agree. Yeah. I mean, that's it. What else at the running back spot? Anybody else besides Herbert and Pacheco?
No, those are my two guys. I didn't really have much else that I would have gone further than that. I mean, if Naheem Hines is available, you could do that knowing that there's a chance he gets traded today and maybe gets into a better spot than he was in Indy. No, I didn't have anything else there. But I will give you wide receivers because Kadarius Toney still available, 50% of your leagues. And again, Giants fans are going to say, I don't want to get sucked in, but we know he's talented and suddenly he's healthy again. And he's got Mahomes throwing in the ball. And Buffalo is the only team that throws the ball more than Kansas City. So, Kansas City's going to sling it around. So if you don't necessarily believe in Pacheco and you want to go a different route for Kansas City, it might, again, be something where you have to wait on Toney for a couple of weeks. But again, if you're looking to build for that postseason run in your fantasy leagues, Toney might be a helper for you.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by Kadarius Toney. Like we talked about that when that deal went down, is that there's such a Kadarius Toney. It's not out of the reach or out of the realm of possibility that he becomes an absolute superstar with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, with that as a possibility, there's also the possibility that Kadarius Toney never stays healthy, is barely on the field, similar to what happened with the Giants. Got to remember, 24 games that was available for the Giants, he was healthy for 12 of them. Exactly. So a guy that's kind of has a penchant for getting hurt, is he now all of a sudden going to stay healthy? He's an unbelievable talent. Like, this is not a case where Kadarius Toney can't play. Kadarius Toney has got a role in the National Football League. That's why the Chiefs gave up a 3 and a 6. And that's why the Giants drafted him when he was with the 20th overall pick coming out of Florida. Like, he can play in this league. Yeah, I think if he's available, I mean, I think he's a guy that you have to make a move for on the waiver wire. If somebody didn't rush to pick him up last week after that deal went down in your league, and he's still available, sitting there, as you mentioned, half the leagues that he's still available, you got to go get Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, I think people were scared away last week because of the bye week. And obviously, if you don't have a deep bench or like a lot of spots is what I mean, you weren't able to do it last week. So yeah, 50% rostered. Rondale Moore rostered at about 35%. We've seen him have 8 or more targets, 6 or more catches, 3 of his last 4 games. And it really looks like now that D-Hop is in the lineup, it's opening things up a little bit more for Rondale Moore. Last week, caught 7 of 8 targets, had 92 receiving yards, scored a touchdown, ran the ball once for 12 yards. And I looked at the snap numbers. And to me, snap numbers are some of the most important things. It means you're on the field. And he was on the field for 98.7% of the offensive snaps. That's a big number. So basically 99% of the time that they were snapping the football for Arizona, Moore was on the field. It's important.
Yeah, Moore. The problem is that Hopkins is going to keep on going. I mean, he's going to keep on. DeAndre Hopkins out in Arizona is going to be getting 13, 14 targets a game. But Rondale Moore is a guy that you clearly want to try and add. What else you got?
Devin Duvernay. And the reason I say Duvernay, who's rostered about 30% in leagues, is because we now know Bateman's out. No idea what's going to happen with Mark Andrews, right? And that's why we'll get to Isaiah Likely in just a second. But Mark Andrews, the Ravens might turn around and say, hey, we have a bye week coming up in week 10. Let's let him get right, sit him out week 9. He'll get full week 10 off and have him come back, guns a-blazing week 11. If all that happens, lots of targets are around there. For Duvernay, he had 4 targets last week, 4 catches, very boom or bust. He's very Deshaun Jackson-esque, right? Where he could take 1 catch, a 4-yard slant, and take it to the house for 80, or he could end up with 4 catches like last week for 33 yards. Now, we did have a touchdown, so that saved your day. He's an option for you. One more option on the receiver end, Moose, Terrace Marshall. It's a deep dive. Only rostered about 1%. And again, this falls into, do you believe that, Philip P.J. Walker can spread the ball around between DJ Moore and Terrace Marshall? Well, and all his numbers are rising. Last week, 9 targets, had 4 catches, 87 yards. And again, if we go to snap count and we go to routes as well, his snap count, Terrace Marshall, was 93% last week. That's good. and he ran 36 routes. So there's meat on the bone there for Terrace Marshall.
Yeah, Terrence Marshall's not a bad one. You're right. I think that's more of a throw a dart up against the wall.
Exactly.
For the best.
Yep, I agree. I agree. But some people are in dire straits.
Listen, there's a reason why 99% of the leagues haven't picked up Terrence Marshall, but I think it's a good one to not be, it's a big time gamble that could pay off. How about tight ends?
There's 3 names out there right now. Let's start with Isaiah Likely, since I buried the lead there. 2% rostered. This is all contingent on Mark Andrews. So this is, you got to play it out in your leagues, and you got to figure out what your league is. I would say that if someone else has Mark Andrews and you want to block them, it's kind of like a jerky move on purpose. You go out there and you pick Isaiah Likely. I'm not blowing my fab money on him, but we saw, he was on the field a lot last week once Andrews went out. If Andrews is out, you could make an argument that Isaiah Likely is a top 7 tight end play this week if there's no Andrews on the field. I would probably use Isaiah Likely in Fantasy Survivor this week if Andrews is out.
Likely might be a guy that you look at that clearly, when you have, he's clearly a guy you're going to handcuff if you've got Mark Andrews, because if Mark Andrews is out, that Likely is a guy that's already shown you that he's going to be a playmaker in that offense as long as Lamar Jackson is still the starting quarterback down in Baltimore with the Ravens. They called him, Mini or, Mark Andrews Jr., during the course of training camp. They really like him. He's a guy that I would pick up that's got a fair amount of upside, that has already showed you the ability to be able to get open down the field and already has a connection with Lamar Jackson. The problem is if Andrews is healthy, he's just not going to get the burn.
Jacob Asagasicki against the Lions. Yeah, it's a good one. The Lions have struggled mightily to stop anybody. Their defense has not been good. I didn't look at his rostered numbers. I don't think he's probably not very available in many leagues, and we can check that for you. But let me go through the other guys first, and then Moose, if you can, try to check out.
I'm looking it up right
check
now.
that out for me. How about Greg Dulcich, right? 10% rostered. He scored 11 or more PPR points in the 3 NFL games that he has played. He is on a bye in Week 10. So again, if you're picking up Dulcich, this is simply you're streaming this week, knowing that you will not have a tight end next week. So you're going to be on this waiver wire streamer list again next week. And then the next guy would be Evan Ingram, still available 55% of leagues, 4 consecutive games in PPR leagues that he scored 9 or more fantasy points. That's nothing to scoff at. I know that, Giants fans have great disdain for Evan Ingram for what he did in New York and his struggle bus of, catching footballs. But from a fantasy standpoint, he's streamer worthy. He might even be rosterable.
Yeah, Gesicki, 60% Yahoo, 73% ESPN.
Yeah, so he's not very available. But, if he is, sure, pick him up. Dolphins offense going to continue to roll.
Yeah, no doubt. There you have it. Some waiver wire. Take a look at. I do like Ingram's always like the little girl with the curl. Dulcich, the tight end with Denver, I think is a guy that has got a fair amount of upside. And you've seen him. He's dealt with the hamstring injury early on, can get deep. Was he coming out of UCLA, I believe, right? He's a guy that I'd be intrigued at picking up. If you are are struggling at the tight end spot, I think he's a guy that 90% available in leagues right now. I would go out there and add him. 2 of the guys that I love on your list this week that I'd add, obviously Herbert at the running back spot, but with the fair amount of upside, Kadarius Toney and the Broncos tight end.
Yep. Yeah.
Those would be the 2 guys I'd target.
So there, listen, you're going into week 9. There are still some options out there for you guys. So we hope you take advantage of it.
We got a great giveaway. We're giving away cool prizes with our daily social giveaway on Twitter all week long. You could be a winner. Follow us at Bettor Network. Retweet the official pinned giveaway post. It's out there. One lucky Bettor fan will win today's prize. What is it? How about Garrett Wilson, the rookie wideout out of Ohio State, an autographed full-size Jets football helmet? Contest begins tonight at 9 Eastern on Bettor Sports Live with Rick Kamla, and he'll announce the winner. You must follow Bettor Network on Twitter and retweet the pinned giveaway post to qualify. Brought to you by GetInTheGame.com and Bettor Sports Network. there you have it. So that'll be announced 9 o'clock later on tonight, Keith, and looking forward to it. And we gotta, we touched upon it a little bit, the rain out last night between the Phillies and the Astros. Let's just look at the kind of the side in total tonight when you look at it in the game this evening. Well, we touched upon it. You're going to be on MLB Network a little bit later on this afternoon, giving you some official plays. But what about when you look at Astros and Phillies tonight, now with the pitching matchup being Ranger Suarez on the mound for Philadelphia and Lance McCullers Jr. on the mound for the Houston Astros?
I still like the Astros to win tonight. I think that they are just the better team. I think watching Altuve wake up in front of our eyes, starting, 0 for the first 2 series, essentially, 0 for 25 is what he started hitting.
Yep.
Very quietly has now put together some big numbers. And he was going to be my walk-off winner had we had a bettor's eye yesterday. I think he still will be today. He's got 7 hits in his last 16 at bats. 4 postseason games. Over those last 4 postseason games, he's averaging 2.25 bases per game, 2 or more bases in 3 of those 4 games. Also, over the last 3 seasons, Citizens Bank Park is the 5th best park for right-handed power hitters. So if you would deem him as a power hitter, he would fall into that play. I would also say that Alex Bregman would be an interesting guy to pay attention to as well tonight. So I would still lean Astros. I don't think we're going to get as high scoring a game as we might have gotten last night with all the humidity in the air, but I still think we're going to get some runs. You could also look at the, Yurfie and Nerfie. I like this one. I got one for you.
Let me hear.
Will both teams score 1 or more runs in the first 3 innings? Yes is plus 160. The Astros had this happen in 33% of their regular season games. The Phillies had it happen in about the same. So plus 160 is some good value there also. And both of these teams, so it was 49 games this year, regular season, that the Astros had both teams score 1 or more runs in the first 3, and it was 45 games for the Phillies.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that is. I love when Keith goes to work. I really do. He finds these little jewels of information. It's just utterly
my nerdiness.
fantastic.
I love it.
I know it's great. What do you mean? It's awesome. It's fantastic. I'm not making fun of you. I think it's great. I would probably take the over in the game. Even though I do look at Suarez as a better pitcher than Noah Syndergaard right now, I just look at that ballpark and the way Philadelphia is hitting that ballpark. I get a little concerned about McCullers. Now with even more time, didn't have great touch and feel of his curveball against the Yankees. I think he's going to give up some runs. I think the Astros are going to score some runs tonight on Ranger Suarez as well. I'd probably take the over right now, sitting at 7.5.
Where do you have it at 7.5?
What's up?
Where do you have it at 7.5?
FanDuel.
Okay, because BetMGM now moved it to 8.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's good to know. So for everybody out there, pay attention. Check your books, right? Because I wouldn't take the over 8. That would scare me. I would not
take the over. I'd take the over 7.5.
Yeah. With 7.5 at what? What's the odds?
Minus 122.
All right. So over 8 is minus 105 on BetMGM.
Yeah. So it's minus 122 right now. I'd take the over 7.5. I would not take the over 8.
Who wins tonight? Because can I entice you into picking a side and compare and putting it with the money line?
I think the Astros win tonight.
So then if you're going to do that, then I'll just go through BetMGM on this just because that happens to be where I'm at right now. And also they sponsor Bettor's Eye, and I'll be giving this play out a little bit later today. If you go Astros, you have over. If I gave you Astros and over 5.5 runs, you feel confident? And and that's game total, by the way. Not the Astros need to score 6. There's 6 or more runs scored in the game in its entirety.
Yes.
Plus 140. How about if I tell you Astros win and 7 runs or more scored?
Yeah.
Right? You're buying down one run from where you were at, plus 170.
I would take both of those.
Yeah. Right?
I like that.
So there you go. And to give you more on this, so 6 or more runs scored in a game by combined, right? Again, I want to remind people that when we're talking about this, I don't mean the Astros score 6 or the Phillies score 6. It's 6 total runs. Now, obviously, it could be 6-0 and it works too. But the Astros have been in 9 postseason games this year. 6 of those games have had 6 or more total runs scored. Phillies have played 13 postseason games this year. 10 of those games have had 6 or more runs scored. So there's a baseline for you.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, I like that. That's a baseline. That's pretty good. You like the Astros tonight too, right?
I do. I don't feel as confident tonight as I did last night. I felt like the Astros are going to come out rocking. I thought they were going to crush Syndergaard. I thought Syndergaard was going to last maybe 2 innings at best, and it was suddenly going to be like a 4-1 game going to third inning. That's what I felt like. I don't feel that strong about it tonight, but I do like the Astros.
You do like the Astros. Yeah, I like the Astros tonight. I think they make this a 2-1 series. And right now, I mean, as the line moved, they were going into game 3 the other day, they were minus 170 favorite to still win the series.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. I just had it up before. Astros to win the series is minus 175. Phillies at plus 145.
Okay.
I'll give you a fun one that Stryker had yesterday, and I think he's giving out today anyway. He was going to go with a 1-game parlay of game total over 5.5 runs, Bryce Harper to have a total base or more, Alex Bregman to have a hit, Kyle Tucker to have a hit, and that gets you to plus 240.
I like that. How does Stryker do with those overall? Good?
Yeah, he does pretty well. Yeah, he actually he would be honest with you. He did not do well with his 1-game parlays during the regular season. Those were a little bit of a struggle. He didn't nail those. And we've gotten into the postseason, and I think he has nailed maybe every single one that he's given out, the 1-game parlays. He had one that was like plus 550 that he nailed.
Well, that's
yeah.
great.
He's a clutch guy, regular season. He kind of like coasts his way through. He's dabbling a little bit here and there. And then it got to the postseason. He's like, all right, game time. Let's win a championship.
Mark Zinno is going to join us. I love that. Mark Zinno is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Want to mention and remind everybody tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m., former Packers running back Amon Green is going to join a Front Yard Fantasy 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. Amon Green, legendary Nebraska Cornhuskers. Also an unbelievable running back with the Green Bay Packers. He's going to join Front Yard Fantasy tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. Which is great. We're going to get into a little Thrive. When we come back, we'll take you right up. Mark Zinno's join us. Talk a little Thrive Fantasy as well. Got a couple suggestions for you for lineups tonight. Didn't do a full lineup, just a couple suggestions. We'll do that next. It's Moose and Keith with you on a Tuesday. Welcome to November, everybody. It's Moose and Keith, Better Sports Network.
November.
Hang out in the Better Zone, where you track NFL live action on Better Sports Network.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that when I look at the lines, I say, okay, if it's a Detroit game, I'm probably going to bet the over. I'm going to look for ways for it to go to the under, but I'm probably going to bet the over. There's certain things that I look at, and I don't know if that's a smart way to do it, because you're using something that happened as biased, but to this point, it seems to be working out.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own strategy, right? On how they bet. I always tell people all the time, hey, whatever works for you, do it. It's kind of like in the old days, I used to be a personal trainer, and people would come in thinking there was only one way to work out, right? And I like, no, you got to find what works for you and your lifestyle. Plenty of ways to lose weight, and there's not one style. And I think betting's just like that. It took me years to figure out the right style for me. So, I had some tough runs as a youngster growing up, but, you figure the stuff out. I don't really care what the public and the sharps are betting. I just don't. Like, I understand it's an interesting little nugget that people put out there, but I don't think it impacts the game. So that's something I don't really look at much.
Middling is something we can try to do. You bet a team pregame -4, you live bet the other team +10. You can win both. Can you talk about that? Middling.
Listen, middling is that's why it's always hard to say like what the sharps are on. Sometimes the sharps are on 3 different plays in the same game. This is how they bet. They're looking for the best number. Then live, they'll come in again on the other team. They're looking to hit this both ways. So that's a more advanced betting strategy that I don't think most people would do. But yeah, I mean, it's always a good idea. And again, when there's more games like in college, it's a little easier to do because you can find some good situations there. I try to do it once in a while. I probably don't do it as much as I should. Yeah, it's a great strategy.
Hang out in the Better Zone for a better NFL game day experience. Sundays at 1 Eastern on Better Sports Network.
Moose and Keith is sponsored by Thrive Fantasy. Prop up on Thrive Fantasy this season.
Yeah, so we gone. Stop. We good. Stop. Chill. We on.
Ain't nothing but straightening.
Let's go.
Ain't nothing but straightening. Unfortunately, again, we're playing the music of Migos coming in and out of breaks. Takeover, 28 years old. One of the members of Migos was shot and killed last night. So I had mentioned to Keith behind the scenes. Let's try to play as much Migos music as we could. So sad news,
No doubt,
for a lot of people.
Let's talk a little Thrive Fantasy, Keith,
Yep.
and give us a couple suggestions if you're going to enter some NBA contest tonight. Thrive Fantasy, obviously, sponsor Moose and Keith here, Bettor Sports Network. A couple things NBA wise. I'd go Anthony Edwards, more than 31.5 points, rebounds, and assists tonight as the Minnesota Timberwolves are on the road in Phoenix taking on the Suns. That's a late game. I'd also play into the fact that that's their home against the Chicago Bulls tonight. It's all points, not a lot of defense. Chicago was a team that we talked about before the start of the season as being a team that outreached or outcovered or overplayed what they were a year ago. Kyrie Irving tonight, more than 41.5 total points, rebounds, and assists. I would go with that because of just the way that we've seen in the style and fashion in which we've seen the Brooklyn Nets play basketball up until this point in time. So I would go more than that right now. And you're getting 105 points right now on Thrive Fantasy if you go more than that. And you're getting 100 points if you go Anthony Edwards over 31.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And I'll give you a third one in that same game. Chicago and Brooklyn, Zach Levine for the Chicago Bulls, 28.5 points, 28.5 points and rebounds total. I'm going to go more than that. The Brooklyn Nets play no defense whatsoever. And it's a really up-tempo game. So I'll take Zach Levine over 28.5 total points and rebounds.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I like the Levine one. I would probably take a look at Paolo Banchero. He's been unstoppable. Orlando at Oklahoma City. The over 27.5 points and rebounds would get you 95 points. I like that one. I think you could mess around with Devin Booker if you want. It's even either way, 100 points either way on the 33.5 points and assists combined there. And Rudy Gobert is grabbing every rebound that happens. He's, absolutely dominating the boards right now. So 95 points to get to the over 12.5 total rebounds. I like that one.
That's a good one. I like that. So
we
got a couple
plays.
Is there
a baseball contest tonight or no? I don't see one.
I didn't see a baseball one.
Yeah, I don't see one tonight. All right. No baseball one tonight. Okay.
Remember to check out Thrive Fantasy. Use promo code BETTOR, BETTOR. When you sign up today, you'll receive a 100% instant first deposit match up to $250. Download Thrive Fantasy on the App Store, Play Store, or by visiting their website, www.thrivefantasy. Sign up and prop up today.
Ooh.
Mark Zinno is going to join Keith and I at the bottom of the hour. Yes,
this
Keith,
is kind of cool.
Look on your face.
No, this is kind of cool. All right, so if you just wanted to do house props for, let's say, baseball, Bryce Harper over 1.5 hits, rebounds, RBIs, and runs. If you do hits, RBIs, and runs over 1.5, that seems very doable. Schwarber to get a hit tonight. You could do Altuve, same thing, hits plus RBIs plus runs over 1.5. You can get a lot of bang for your buck on baseball going through Thrive. Interesting
is right.
You should play one of these. You should go to the house. I'm not allowed to bet on baseball. You should do this.
Wait, hold on a second. All right. So
if you instead, so go to the lobby at the top left, hit house props.
Okay, wait. It says no.
Does your screen say this? Look.
No.
This is what if you hit the lobby button, it should come up with all these contests.
Okay, hold on. Let me go to the contest lobby. Okay.
Are you doing it on your phone or on the laptop?
On the computer.
Oh, see, I've never done it on the laptop. I always do it on the phone.
All right.
So it should say house props at the top.
No.
No?
All
right.
See that.
And then if you click on house props, it just comes up with all these options. There's hockey, there's basketball, right? So if you click on MLB, I would click on MLB, and here's your props.
All right, okay. All right. Well, it says it's loading. No, it's loading house props.
All
but
right,
I'm
yeah,
just
and then house props for MLB like Harper, Schwarber, Altuve, Bregman, Pena, Gurriel, and
right.
Yordan Alvarez are all available as props. And I think the way this
Keith,
works,
I'll be texting you later on when I figure this out.
yeah, no problem. And I think the way this works is you're essentially making your own contest. Like you pick a bunch of them. I actually think you're able to like cross over into other sports too. I think if you did like MLB, yeah, you can click on NBA. You know, I don't know. You think Barzell's getting an assist tonight? You know, you go over there. Let's, if you did Connor McDavid gets
there's
at least a goal and assists.
Yeah.
Can I cross over into sports? Let's see if you added NBA in there just for fun. Let's say you think Draymond Green's going to score 8 points tonight. Can I do that? Please select 2 to 5 props. So you just got to select a certain amount of props, and then you throw it into a contest. That's fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think Mark Zeno's with us.
All right, cool. Let's rock. That's my guy.
Zeno, look at him. He looks great.
Is he wearing a Rock t-shirt? I think he's wearing a Rock t-shirt.
I think he is.
Right?
Look at him. He looks like, what did he just get out of the gym?
Is that a military? Is that the Rock t-shirt? It is, right?
I have a lot of Rock gear. As a matter of fact,
so do I.
My shorts are property of Iron Paradise.
Yeah,
oh, beautiful.
It's funny that you say that because literally, I last night at a Halloween. Just there you go. Halloween get together with family members after baseball got canceled, and one of the dads made a joke. They found a Rock t-shirt in their house. He's like, "Oh, this got to be one of your sons because this is all you wear." And I'm like, "Oh, you mean like these sweatpants? Oh, you mean like this t-shirt? Yeah, exactly. Everything is the Rock." Yeah.
I am a brand man, and Under Armour is my brand, so always has been.
Yeah, I like Under Armour. I also like this, but they're sponsoring our show, so let's go Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy. Let's go.
This is an Under Armour golf hat too, as well. So there is.
Oh, nice!
Look at you.
Their golf stuff is amazing. Their golf stuff is incredible.
Are you a good golfer, Mark?
I mean, I'll shoot in the low 90s routinely. I shot an 82 at a course here once. That was the best I've ever had. I shot an 85 once. Typically, I'm in the low 90s.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's great.
Golf. I play bogey golf.
Well, but that's awesome. But that's good. You have fun. Where's your strength as a golfer? Short game or off the tee?
Well, I don't really know if I have a strength. Like, put it this: if I'm off the tee good, I'm going to score really well. I mean, my putting is, I usually almost knock on wood, never 3-putt.
Nice.
Never 3-putt. Like, that's the easiest place to make up strokes on the course is on the green.
How often are you out on the courses?
Here in Georgia, you can play 10 months a year. Like, you really only can play in January and February. That's about it. So, I probably try to get out at least 2 times a month, if not more than that.
Well, that's great. Mark, what was your impressions what we saw week 8 NFL? Like it's fun to kind of do takeaways. Mine, was talking about it a little bit yesterday on Halloween was that, the upside to the Dallas Cowboys here and what they could potentially be in the NFC. Not give all due respect to the Philadelphia Eagles and what they are, but with Dak back and, the way Pollard's running the football, how good that defense is, Micah Parsons, kind of the upside to the Dallas Cowboys. What was your big takeaway from what we saw here nearing the midway point of the year?
I got to tell you, for an NFL that's been upside down this entire year, guys, I think it feels like we're starting to turn the corner on things that we thought were predictive starting to become more, right? Like, you finally saw a game where a team that was laying huge points actually won and covered when it came to the Cowboys. You saw teams like the Vikings, who were better than the Cardinals, cover their number. The Dolphins, who were better than the Lions, cover their number. I think you see those spreads. Well, why are the Patriots, who have been struggling so much and just got their butts kicked on Monday night, favored against the Jets on the road? Well, because they're the better team and they go out and cover. So I think we saw a lot of things come to fruition that we thought, at least from a gambling standpoint, that were a lot more in line of what we thought. this is what happens, guys, when you see this. You start to see about the first 6 weeks is when things can be a little topsy-turvy as teams are starting to figure themselves out, playing above their heads, maybe some early injuries, take some guys out of the mix, and then you get to the middle of the season. It's big boy football now as we hit November. This is when the teams that are good and we know are going to be good show up to be good, and the teams that aren't, well, you find out who the fakers really are. So I would expect some of those teams that we think are good to start to separate from the teams that aren't.
So you see teams separating from each other. Who would you list as your top teams right now? Because we continue to talk about Eagles and Bills and Chiefs. Who would be in that next tier?
I mean, I think the Niners are right there. And how much that they've struggled. The Niners are a superiorly talented team, and they're excellently coached. So it's hard to really cut them out. The Vikings are there. They have a very good roster. It looks like Kevin O'Connell is the right guy. There is always sort of that hesitancy with Kirk Cousins, and I think he's an underrated quarterback. But I just won't bet on the Vikings anymore. It's just too much stress. It's 3 hours of agony, and just nobody needs it. You just can't do it. They follow the same game script every single week. One of two of them, which is they're favored and they go up big, and then they let the other team back in the game and don't cover, or they're favored big, and then they end up trailing by 14, 17 points and have to rush all the way back to win a game they don't cover anyway. So it's not even worth it. But I think the Niners are in that next tier. I think the Vikings are there. I think when you look at some other teams that are hanging around, are the Miami Dolphins there in that next category? Offensively, it feels like it. Defensively, I'd be a little bit hesitant, to say the least. The Cowboys are definitively there. They are going to be a very tough out, especially if they can run the ball with the measure of success they did against the Bears. The Bears are one of the worst rush defenses in the league. But from a talent standpoint, they certainly have the names on the back of the jerseys to indicate that they would be there. And then I think after that, you start to see a real drop-off. I mean, the Titans look sort of like paper tigers a little bit. Certainly the Seahawks, the Giants, a lot of question marks about how much depth those teams have to really be there. You look at the Jets and the Patriots. Again, these are quite teams that have more questions than answers at this point in time. So, and of course, the Bengals and the Browns. I mean, if the Browns had any other quarterback other than Jacoby Brissett, they're probably 6-2 at this point. There's a legitimate pause to think that they'd be 6-2. If they had the guts to go out and get Jimmy Garoppolo when the 49ers were trying to dump him and make him the starter, they'd be 6-2 this year, if you ask me.
Yeah, and they've been inconsistent. You mentioned about the lack of consistency from Jacoby Brissett. What do you think? Do you think any other big moves happen, Mark, before the 4:00 trade deadline today in the National Football League?
As a Giants fan, I hope they get Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah. Apparently there was an offer.
I'll say this much, and I've had this argument. I'm here in Atlanta. I'm having this argument with Falcons fans right now. Like, if you're in first place halfway through the season, like, I don't care if you're in the middle of a rebuild or not. What's the reason not to go for it, to try and get better right now? Like, I understand there is a certain limit on the offer you're willing to make and what you're willing to give up. But what the Ravens just did in getting Roquan Smith sort of feels a little bit like robbery. Smith is a top 5 linebacker in this league, any way you slice it. And he is a guy that sort of fits that sort of Ray Lewis sort of mold, if you will, in a field general in the middle, a very good tackler, a guy who's smart enough to know where everybody's supposed to be and what they're supposed to be doing, very sort of anticipatory, in is why he's such a good tackler. I think all those things are there. And if the Ravens are pushing their chips in and the Niners are pushing their chips in and the Eagles are pushing their chips in, making all these deals, it's like, okay, are you basically saying, well, I'll make the playoffs, go home in one game and be happy with that? Like, that's like just a loser mentality I can't buy in. Aggressive GMs win more in this league than they lose. That's the bottom line, right? You know what happens, guys, when you do nothing? Nothing. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing happens. And everything you expected not to happen does happen because you did nothing. Like, I mean, and if you're the Falcons with this roster and you have a chance to win the division and host a playoff game and you're in the middle of a, quote, rebuild and you're getting ahead of yourself, the worst thing you can do is, I don't need to acquire any more talent. I'm good. No, get as much talent as you can get your damn hands on and go out there and try to win, especially when you got $60 million in cap space showing up. Like, to quote our friend Casey Stern, to paraphrase, picks are cool, parades are cooler, right? Go and win something, damn it.
Casey Stern, Long Island, baby.
That's right. Got to rep.
Yeah. You know, I did not grow up in the town that he grew up in, but I know a lot of people that went to high school with him. So go. You know that Casey Stern's sister was my older son's preschool teacher.
Really?
How about that's just a weird, yeah.
Wow.
So many short degrees of separation on the island.
It's right. It's weird. Like randomly, we were talking, Miss Lindsay, and she's like, "Wait, what do you do for a living?" And I had said what I do. She goes, "Do you happen to know who Casey Stern is?" So I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I think like honestly, we were both at Sirius XM at the time, right?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's my brother." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah." So there you go. Don't know, why I needed to add that story in, but sometimes it's story time. What do you make of baseball tonight? Who do you got?
Phillies. Lance McCullers is the one guy you have to beat if you want to beat that team, right? Like that's the win, and you're looking at the starters across. You have to do it. I'll take the over again tonight too. By the way, 7.5. If you're under 8 in this series, I don't see a reason not to play an over. Like you get to 8.5, you start to get a little bit, depending on what the juice is and what the number is. But this is a lineup that should punish Lance McCullers, and if they don't, and the Astros win this one, I feel like I have a hard time believing that the Phillies can take the series. Like this is kind of the one you have to go up 2-1, put the Phillies on their heels, and then set yourself up that if you don't win game 4, you win a decisive game 5, and you got 2 coin flip games to go win a series in Houston. You put yourself in a 2-1 hole. Asking to win back-to-back against Houston with this rotation is really, really tough. So this may be as big a game as there is, obviously, in this series.
Mark, can you explain why Verlander struggled the way he has in the Fall Classic?
I don't know, because some guys do better when the lights go on and some guys don't. I mean, you watched A-Rod for a decade in the playoffs, didn't you? He had one good year in 2009 and they won it. I mean, that's it just happens. Some guys just have it and some guys don't. And I don't know if it's the idea that when he gets to this stage, like some pitchers try to do some things different in the postseason, and there are some tendencies that they go to, and you get 1 or 2 games of tape on them. And now there's so much more advanced film study on pitchers, right? You got guys on iPads in the freaking dugout looking at the 2 guys warming up in the bullpen, looking at, what they threw the last 3 outings against this guy and that guy, against a righty versus a lefty. So there's so much more access to information. And it could be one of those things as of late for Verlander where, and you watched him in the LDS and the LCS have a good measure of success. And, if you try to attack with the same game plan, good lineups can take advantage of that. I think that there may be some of that in the whole thing, but it's a really strange phenomenon. And I thought they would get to Verlander earlier. Like in game 1, I had the Phillies winning it and I had the over. I didn't know it was going to play out the way it did. I didn't write the game script where I go, let's go down 5-0 and then score 5 runs back from the 5th inning or later. Like that wasn't the, I thought they'd get to Verlander early, take up 2 or 3 runs, get him out of there by the middle of the 5th or the 6th inning and go forward that way. But he can be had. I mean, to say the least. I still don't think I'd bet against him necessarily in a huge spot to come up with a big start. I mean, remember that, guys. In the macro, we look at numbers and they look bad, but guys can have entirely bad postseasons, hit 1 home run, and you're remembered forever. Hi, Jim Leyritz. How you doing?
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it could be that simple. He could give you 5 solid innings and turn it over to a bullpen that's nearly next to nothing. And while it doesn't look great, and it doesn't change his numbers in the grand scheme of things, he's a starter of a Game 7 that wins your World Series.
I think the rain out last night helps the Phillies. Like you said, Ranger Suarez goes tonight. Suarez clearly a better starter than Noah Syndergaard. I was all over Houston last night. I thought it was going to be a high-scoring game last night. I thought Syndergaard would get knocked after maybe 2 or 3 innings, and then you go to that bullpen. It's weird, though, because trying to read the tea leaves, the Phillies appear like they might go with Syndergaard in the bullpen game in Game 5. So that's the plan as it sits right now, which would lend itself to their beliefs that Suarez can win tonight. That's how I'm reading it. They think that they can steal a win tonight, and then Nola hopefully wins in Game 4. But even if not, Game 5 is not an elimination game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the bullpen game thing. Call me old school. It's like, what's the logic in taking a road trip where I stop and switch cars every 100 miles? Like, I don't get the idea of that concept. If you don't have a starter, okay, for the game, then my first question is, well, why don't you have a starter? Like, I mean, there's got to be somebody who you can set to go out there. And it's one thing if you say, I'm going to let him go as long as he can go. But predetermining a bullpen game is always weird to me. It's like, I'm not going to watch the game. I'm just going to.
Well, because the Rays made it sexy, right?
I guess. You know what? The Rays made it sexy with a payroll that fits in my pocket.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's not the case for some of these teams. You don't have to do that. So, and I think it also just belies the idea of being a manager. It's like you're, and it's what we hate about the Yankees as Yankee fans. There's a stupid book that Cashman and all the brain children are beholden to, and whatever the book says we have to do. And I don't think you need to be that robotic. Watch the damn game in front of you. But Syndergaard could go out there and give you 2 solid innings. It's like, well, why am I going to pull him? Because I predetermined this is a bullpen game. Let him pitch until he can't pitch anymore.
Him, I think they would let him go, by the way. Him, I don't think so I don't believe that it is a preconceived one for this. I think it would have been if someone like Bailey Falter was on the mound. No, I think that this one is they just don't think they're getting more than 3 innings out of him.
Listen, I watched the Yankees send Kenny Rogers to the mound twice or 3 times in the playoffs in '96 on the way to the World Series. I mean, that guy sucked. I mean, outside of one perfect game he threw in his career, he couldn't find a strike zone with a road map and a flashlight. So, I mean, nonetheless, they threw him out there because he was a Game 4 starter, and they figured out ways to win. Like with this lineup, with this Phillies lineup, if you can't trust your starter to give you a quality start, give me 6 innings and 3 runs, or at least give me 5 innings and 3 runs. Like, you have to believe this Phillies lineup is good enough to score more than that in a game. If they're not, it's because the other guy's pitcher is absolutely shutting you down.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, listen, I mean, analytically, I think baseball's been overrun. I get there's a place for it, Mark, but I mean, the touch and feel idea, has gone by the wayside, and it's progressively getting worse. Like, nobody's looking at it and say it's the error of their ways, how you judge a successful year. You mentioned about the Yankees and other teams. I understand the Yankees used to be held to a different standard than every other team in baseball. That is no longer the case. That's the frustrating aspect of it, where those moments, those legendary moments are no longer going to be there, where you trust the competitive nature, the guts, and the guile of a starting pitcher. Because
whose fault that is?
Because if the spin rate goes down, that guy's going to be out of the game.
You know whose fault that is, honestly, when this really all started to take a turn, is Grady Little and Pedro Martinez. That was the moment right there, because that's when we started saying, Pedro at 100 pitches, everything falls off. Pedro at 100 pitches, everything falls off. When in reality, the logic was 100% correct. Pedro Martinez was still a better option than anything coming out of that pen at that point in time. He was gassed and he was done, but I'm going to lose with my very best. And that's fair. I still think that is a fair logic. It's a logic I would support if I was a GM. I mean, yes, there is times where you have to get him at it, but when it's a future Hall of Famer and one of the greatest pitchers of our generation, you have to have a set on you the size of Montana to go pull that guy out of that game at that point in time. But that's really where it started, because Grady Little cost him his job, and then it won the Red Sox a World Series the next year.
Not wrong. You're 100% right. And Pedro, but also at that time, Mark, Pedro wanted an opportunity to beat the Yankees as well. But yes. I mean, he was dying. I mean, that was the whole "who's your daddy?" I mean, everything. I drilled Babe Ruth in the rear end. All that stuff that was coming out of Petey at that time.
It was. I mean, he was a different breed, a different mentality. And as sad as it is to say, it's like less than 20 years ago, the game has dramatically changed.
Yeah,
like right in front of our very eyes, baseball has shifted into some nerdery, analytical, based game that all of a sudden we can boil down to a set of sample set of metrics and numbers, which I'm with you, Moose. It's like, I think there's a place for all that stuff, but if it is the sole basis for the decision, then I mean, you could put a 7-year-old on a video game and ask him to go manage your baseball team.
Agreed. If you're just gonna run it that way, yeah, it would help. Any player props that you were looking at tonight? We got Work and Grind in our chat wants to know hits, runs, RBI, anything you're looking at tonight. I have a few, so if you don't, I'll throw them out there.
I mean, that Rhys Hoskins is going to hit a bomb at some point in this series, and I like the matchup with him tonight. So I'm still back in Hoskins. The Phillies have been spreading out their home runs between obviously Harper, Schwarber, and Hoskins. So one of those three feels like always like a good shot to go yard.
5 home games this postseason for the Phillies. Rhys Hoskins has 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, batting .333. So I like that one. The other interesting one, it was over 11-1 odds yesterday. And now Lance McCullers, it really depends on how far you think Lance McCullers is going to go in the game. Lance McCullers is not an easy guy to steal against, but Kyle Schwarber has 3 stolen bases in his last 6 games. So if he gets on base, they're not afraid to let him run. So if you're looking for like amazing value, over 11-1 odds on Schwarber. But again, if McCullers goes 6 or 7 innings, that doesn't work.
Probably not, because that means nobody's getting. that's the other part.
Yeah. Yep.
And the other one I've started to look at, in baseball late this year, was the total base prop, as far as, how many hits a guy can
total
get.
bases.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's always good. Depending on, like, again, Hoskins with a guy, the way he's batting, for him, 2+ total bases, I think is not a bad play at all. Find a guy with the hot bat, and if you really want to go the other way, Altuve is continuing to struggle big time.
No, we're riding.
Keith, this is where Keith loves Altuve today.
Go ahead. You go first then. Go ahead.
Well, he's the kind of guy that obviously could snap out of the slump at any point in time, right? But to the point of this postseason, what is he, like 2 for 27?
No, he's 7 for his last 16 now. Last 4 postseason games, he's getting 2.25 bases per game.
Really? He's that?
Very quietly. People didn't. I actually love that you didn't realize that. I love that because honestly, people aren't realizing that it started in Game 3 against the Yankees, that he was hitting the ball hard. He didn't get on base. In Game 4 against the Yankees, got on base 3 times. And in the first 2 games of this series, he's starting to hit again as well. And then Citizens Bank Park over the last 3 years is the 5th best park for right-handed hitters with power. You may say, I don't believe in Altuve with power or whatever. But 15 of his 28 home runs have come on the road this season. I'm not going home run here, but at plus 130, plus 135, I like the over 1.5 total bases for Altuve.
All right, listen, you would know better than I would. Like I said, I'm the Yankee fan who stopped watching as soon as I got eliminated. So on the I kid.
I also liked Altuve 13-1 odds coming into the World Series for World Series MVP. He was one of my favorite bets.
I'm just kind of irreparably torn about this series. Like, I don't want the Houston Astros to ever win anything again, just because I find them highly annoying. It's just one of those teams that has become very annoying to me after a while. I've had my fill of them outside of the cheating thing aside. I find them very tough to root for. However, I'd like to see Dusty Baker win a World Series. Yeah. He's one of the most likable guys in baseball. But does like the city of Philadelphia ever need to win anything again? Like, I mean, that's also something I'd rather not ever see. I mean, like, there are like 2 or 3 cities.
Eagles.
It's much like Boston. Philly is a city that no matter how much they win, they'll act like they never won.
Mark, I got to ask you. Let's ask you a couple of college football questions before we let you go, because you're down in Georgia. Want to know upcoming game, Georgia and Tennessee, where the Vols are getting 8.5 on the road. 3:30 kick this upcoming Saturday down in Athens. Do you think the Vols have a shot to not only win the game outright, but to cover the 8.5 point spread?
Well, a couple of things here, and I don't know if you guys saw the news, but Nolan Smith, their best defender, is out for the rest of the year with a torn pec. So that is a huge, huge loss for the Georgia Bulldogs. Not to mention, too, Jalen Carter, one of their defensive tackles, just got back last week, but only played sparingly on 3rd down. So if he's limited to 3rd downs again this week only, that's a huge plus for Tennessee. I think the real, crux of this matchup boils down to the Tennessee defensive front and how much they can get home with 4 guys, because we know this Tennessee pass defense is bad. It is downright awful, guys. One of the worst in America. And while Kentucky couldn't take advantage because they couldn't execute last week, Georgia won't have that problem. They are a good executing football team when push comes to shove. I've said routinely all season long, the only team that can beat Georgia is Georgia. They made 3 turnovers last week and took what was a 28-3 lead and allowed it to be 28-24 before they said, okay, we're going to score 3 more touchdowns on you and win the game by 22. So with all that said, I think Tennessee's the right side from a betting standpoint. I wouldn't bet against them. But, Georgia has to play mistake-free football. If they do, given the fact that they're home and Tennessee hasn't seen a defense like this at all this year, I would lean on Georgia to win this game, but not cover it. So it's going to be a fantastic matchup, guys. And, oh, by the way, tonight when the college football playoff rankings come out, I know Josh Heupel is on his knees right now praying to the Lord in the heavens, please don't make us number one. Please don't make us number one, because we don't need to give Georgia any extra motivation to go out there and beat us. But that's what I think is going to happen. I think the College Football Playoff Committee is going to go, they beat LSU, they beat Alabama, they've had a couple of quality road wins this year. Tennessee is the number one. Georgia's best win is over Oregon. And yes, folks, I don't care what that score was. It is a great win. Oregon is one of the most complete teams in the nation right now, and they are scary good. And when they run the table, they're going to be in the college football playoff, and they're going to be an extremely tough out. But aside from that, I think they're going to put Tennessee number one tonight and Georgia number two.
Let me sneak one in. Alabama on the road at LSU. Bama, 13-point favorites, depending on where you're looking. How do you view that game?
I'll answer this question with a question. Outside of Joe Burrow playing for LSU, guys, remember the last time LSU actually beat Alabama?
Was it Hackenberg?
Is that the 9-6 game?
Very good, Moose. Attaboy. Do you remember what year that was?
That was
11 years ago.
Yeah, that's amazing.
They've won 11 of the last 12 games against them, including a BCS national championship later.
And I said Hackenberg. I meant Mettenberger, right? Was it?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was Alabama's number. That said, those Alabama teams weren't the most penalized team in college football. Didn't seem to give up 40 points on a routine basis. Didn't find themselves stuck in games against inferior opponents like Texas. So I'm not going to write the demise of Alabama, but I'm also not going to back them laying 12 points in Death Valley this weekend. So Alabama wins, LSU covers. Jaden Daniels, the quarterback for LSU, is perplexing. I mean, earlier this year, he just threw for just 80 yards in an SEC football game. Like, that's grounds to getting benched, to only throw for 80 yards in an SEC football game. But he uses his legs a ton, and he can make things happen, and he's what LSU has. So he's good enough to go out there and beat some of the other SEC teams. I think he's good enough to keep this thing within 12.
Mark Zinno, Pickwise, Sports Grid TV, and he's all over the place. Hey, Mark, we appreciate it. Love the Under Armour gear as well that you're sporting. You're looking sharp. And we'll talk to you again real soon. Have a good Tuesday. All right, man?
You guys are the best. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Later, bro.
You got
awesome
it. Mark's
stuff.
awesome. He's fantastic. And I'm interested to see what those rankings are. Keith, where are you on today? So everyone can, what time are you on MLB Network today?
7:30 show, 6:30 potential hit on MLB Tonight.
Nice. Are you going to be making a Larry O'Brien Irizarry trophy?
I would like to. I'm going to have to wait for after the World Series before I can really dive into that. But yeah. But I also will try to pawn this off on Jody to make it, because she is a lot more creative than me. But I do love the idea.
I'm happy baseball's back tonight. I missed it last night.
Me too, yeah.
I was looking forward to putting the kids to bed and then being able – I wasn't fired up about Bengals and Browns, all due respect to Bengals and Browns fans. I was fired up to watch a little baseball. It stunk that it got canceled. But check out Keith later on today, MLB Network.
And you're all over picks, yep.
All over picks later on this afternoon. Thanks for watching. Good luck to all those that are involved in trying to win that Garrett Wilson signed helmet later on tonight at 9. Rick Hamlow will announce that winner. Have a good rest of your Tuesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning at 10. Moose and Keith, we out. Better Sports Network.
Don't not get strained but straightening. You don't get straight, you don't straighten it. In this game, sit back, be patient.